Okay, guys, we'll be starting in just a couple of moments here. I'm going to get the live feed up on the computer too, so I can read through your questions and everything as they come up today. This is just a little bit of an experiment. We're going to see how you guys like it if we do a weekly recap video. Basically, we're going to go through the videos that we produced over the last week, some of the new plants that we may have added to the garden, and then we're also going to go through any of the questions and comments that we've got on the channel throughout the week, and then we'll be addressing your questions live in the video as well. So if this is something that you think you would like to see every single week, I've not committed to it yet, but this is an experiment to see if you guys like it, because I think it could really help connect us as gardeners in a community, to just give a more of a personal look into the garden and the YouTube channel and everything that's going on here. So if that's something that you think you would like to see, definitely please comment down below on what your thoughts are on it. Got the video up right here. I'm going to mute it, obviously, and just have the chat running. So first off, I want to thank you guys all so much for your continued support. We have now almost 16,500 subscribers, which is such a blessing. It's so amazing to see us continually grow, and we're inching towards the goal. Like, the ultimate goal of this channel is for my wife and I and our family to be able to create our own homestead. I don't know if it's going to be off-grid yet or not, probably not, but just having a homestead where we can actually farm with some land is really our ultimate goal, and something that we're striving for with this gardening channel. And that's part of why we do this so often, and why I've been working so hard and so diligently to make sure I provide you guys with some good quality content, is because I know the payoff in the long term is going to be really rewarding, not only for me, but the gardening community as a whole. Because I always talk about another main reason why I do this is to spark some inspiration in those who maybe don't have any interest in gardening yet. The more I can do that, the better, because a lot of people look at gardening as something that is rather boring, not interesting, but I see the exact opposite, actually, because there's so many different ways you can do each and every single thing when it comes to gardening, that I don't ever see it getting boring. And if it's boring, then you're doing it wrong, because the more we can experiment and do things a little bit differently than others have done it, we might find different ways that possibly work better than the ways we've been taught over the several years or decades that have been passed down to us throughout lineages. And gardening is constantly evolving and growing and changing. There's so many different things that have just been totally flipped and reversed compared to what we used to be taught when it comes to gardening. And so stuff like that is always going to be happening. So that's why I don't think it could really ever get boring. And I'm just super excited for the future of what gardening holds, what you guys have, and just the overall ecosystem when it comes to gardening too. I know that a lot of younger people aren't really getting into it as much these days. Even myself, I would consider myself a little bit more of the younger demographic when it comes to gardening. So I'm super happy that I'm able to influence and inspire more younger people around the world. And I think it's really important that we teach our kids and teenagers even, that gardening has such a strong importance when it comes to our lives and even our mental well-being and spiritual well-being. It really plays a big part in my life and should play a big part in their lives as well. So that's just a couple of forefront thoughts before I get into the actual recap video. I just really encourage you guys to go out there and try and inspire others to get into gardening and to be creative with their gardening, because it can be such a wonderful journey and it's so much fun to learn this stuff. I really, really strongly encourage it. Even if you yourself aren't that into it, just watch a couple of extra YouTube videos each week or each day on different things that you don't know about gardening. You know, look up permaculture, look up how to make your own fertilizer, stuff like that. Just little things that you might not know very much about. I encourage you guys to go out there and do some research and find out how much fun it actually can be. So with that being said, we will do the recap. We've got today, I guess, in this week, I'll include the new houseplant highlight video. That is an awesome plant that we got, an anthurium. It's right back here. It's not blooming at the time, but we got that from my mother-in-law, who I believe got it from her parents, and she just didn't have the time to take care of this plant, so she passed it along to us. And of course, I said I was more than happy to take it, as our gardening collection is constantly expanding and growing, as you guys have seen. This whole shelving unit here that we built was almost empty just a couple of months ago. And now we have lots of plants. Yeah, we have lots of plants. And it's going to keep on growing. So with your guys' help, I hope that this expands along the wall behind me so we can fill up that wall too, possibly with some like vertical pocket gardens. I think those would be really cool. They don't take up a lot of space either. So long story short, she was more than happy to give it to us. And she actually got us some new Hoyas too. I've yet to make a video on these, but I will be making a video on this in the near future. Just my typical, I'll do like a care video, a propagation and cloning video, and then just an overall look at this plant too. I'll have a few videos on these coming up, but she gave us that anthurium and then these Hoyas too. What's up?
Can you grow spices on a wall like that?
Yeah, we can grow like herbs and stuff. I don't know about different spices. Katie had just asked if we could grow some spices. I don't know of any spices we could grow indoors. Maybe something like dill would work. But those, again, those get kind of big too. So she had asked if we could grow any spices and stuff, but I plan on growing some more herbs and getting an herb garden inside, because those are so helpful when it comes to gardening or when it comes to cooking, especially when it's fresh. It's a totally different taste compared to this dried up stuff that you get from the grocery store, and you don't really know how they've been taking care of that plant either, or if they have any additives in it or chemicals, what sort of pesticides they were using. A lot of the times those larger, like we're talking massive farms that grow this stuff, they just don't really have the most conscious method of gardening, I would say. So the more and more you can take that stuff out of your diet and include things that you've grown yourself in the garden, and while using organic methods is really important. So herb garden will be coming up. That answers Katie's question. I don't know, I'll hop on here and see if you guys have any questions about that either. Looks like not. So we were talking about the new plants, that anthurium. We've got a Hoya. We also got a amaryllis just last week too, and I made a video on that one too. We've never kept a, hi from Chicago, hello, thank you for tuning in. We've never kept an amaryllis over throughout many years before, but it's actually pretty easy to do. So I made a video on that and showed you guys how to do that, and I will be documenting the progress as we do that here in the garden. If you guys have noticed a trend with my videos and what I do, essentially I don't plan out a whole lot of videos. I got a whiteboard over here with maybe like 6 or 7 videos, video ideas written down on it. But then primarily what I do is, as I go through my normal maintenance watering, propagation, all of the stuff that I like to do in the garden, what I'll do is just make a video when it comes to those things. So that way, like I realize it doesn't take much more time to produce those videos and to give them out to you guys and to share this information, because it's stuff that I really would have been doing anyways. So maybe some of you might be on a tipping point on thinking of starting your own YouTube channel. I don't know for sure. I haven't really gotten any feedback on that. But if you're maybe possibly thinking about it, I would really, 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 really strongly encourage you guys to go out and do that. Gardening videos are actually pretty popular, and as YouTube and internet and social media continues to grow, it's a place where people are starting to get more and more of their information, especially when it comes to gardening. So everybody has their own unique point of view when it comes to this stuff. Like I said, gardening has so many different ways that you can do each and every project, and so many different methods that I think if you guys would be open up to starting your own channel and offering your own perspective on gardening, definitely just start. Like that's the first step, is just to start. Getting a little carried away here, but that's how I do my gardening videos. I just pretty much document all of the stuff that I will be doing. I add in a few other things like the care tips and stuff like that. But overall, as you'll see our channel grow, it's kind of like a living channel, because I am only just documenting all of the stuff I do in the garden. And when I get new plants, I do care videos on them and stuff like that. So I'm really happy that you guys have been enjoying them. If you have any specific comments or suggestions, please let me know. I'm always open up to suggestions on the videos, and I would like to get your input on what we should do as well. We've also added a couple of other plants. I don't know if you guys have seen the, which one was it? Where? There's one that I'm thinking of that I just got. Oh, that's it. Just the Monstera Deliciosa. And then our Alocasia African mask. Those are some newer ones that we've got in the garden. I haven't done one on the Alocasia, but if you see this colored leaf right here, that's the one. That's the African mask. That seems to be a really cool plant. I'm excited for that. And the Monstera is getting huge. It's nearly almost doubled in size since we got it, not quite. I am kind of worried though, because I think eventually we're going to have a giant pot for that one. Right now it's in maybe like 1.5, maybe 2 gallon pot, where if I want this thing to actually grow to its full potential, I'm going to need like a 5 to 10 gallon pot eventually. So that's going to be a pretty big one and take up a lot of space, but thankfully they don't require a ton of sunlight. So it's pretty flexible on where I can put it around the house. Back to the videos that we produced over this last week. We had the new houseplant highlight, which was the anthurium. We talked about that already. And then we had the great succulent gift idea. This was an unboxing. We got sent these succulents from Lula's Garden. And the whole premise behind the company and this product was that you would buy this as a gift, kind of like buying flowers for somebody, a friend, and getting it shipped to them directly. And then this succulent would be in a planter all ready to grow. They do have it glued in there and everything, so it doesn't move around during shipment. But the product itself, it looks great. I love it. The succulents were outstanding. This is Echeveria chihuahuensis. This was one of the succulents that they sent us. It's gorgeous. Like, I love the plants that they gave us, but I will say that the number one reason why they probably won't get too many sales is just because of the price point. Like, it cost like over $30 for a single one of these succulents. I guess it depends on the planter that you get. So the price point is going to be a killer for some people. I'm not going to talk about that video any longer just because it's a product video. I don't really like to do those too much. I've done a lot of grow light videos in the past, but as far as a community and gardening, and you guys go as the viewers, I try and shy away from that stuff as much as I can. Granted, like I said, in the long run, our ultimate goal is to create our very own homestead. And obviously, funding that is a part of why I do this. And a part of why most YouTubers do this stuff too is to help supplement their income in order to help them reach their own dreams and goals. So I'm not gonna beat around the bush when it comes to that stuff. But as you guys have probably seen, I shy away from it. I've gotten a couple of other offers that I just have to turn down because I don't think it's really beneficial to you guys as the viewers. So there's that video. And then before we move on to a weekly recap of the comments and questions that we've got, I want to talk about some upcoming videos. Those will be I've got a ZZ plant propagation update. This is going to be a growth update on the ZZ plants that we propagated a while ago. Just like this one here. I've got 6 of these growing in the garden now, and they're doing fantastic. You guys are going to like this video. It's really exciting. It's cool to see how much progress these have made since I made the original propagation video. And we've got these going into a playlist, their own playlist of ZZ plant propagation. But that video is going to be coming up very shortly here. Probably, I think I'll release that one on Tuesday. And then likely on either Thursday or Friday, we might just do the same schedule this week. Release a video on Friday of overall look on how I water all of the plants in here. The schedule that I go through and the maintenance that I do to these plants each time I water them. So it's going to be a lengthy video. I'm assuming that it might be like 20, 25 minutes, maybe even longer. Just detailing what I look for in the plants, what I look for in the soil, if there's any sort of mealy bugs, some gnats, or anything like that that I might be looking for and how I treat them, and then how much water I'm putting in each pot and the reasoning behind that as well. Because if you guys have seen one of my other videos that I did on the 20th, November 20th, it says, do your plants need drainage holes? So I made that video because I have a lot of different planters in the garden here. I have planters that have no drainage at all. I have planters that have a ton of drainage. And there is a common misconception that all of your planters absolutely need to have drainage holes in order for your plants to live. But that's simply not true. So when I go through this water maintenance schedule here, I'll be able to show you guys what I look for and how I treat each and every planter a little bit different. Not only does that have to do with the drainage of that pot, but also the soil and how well of a draining mix that is too. We have several different soil mixtures here in the garden, depending on what the plant requires. We have some that are just plain regular soil. And then for those plants that need a little bit more drainage, but not a whole lot, not like succulents or cacti, more like tropical plants, I like to add in peat moss along with that soil. Maybe about a 2-part soil to 1-part peat moss mix is a good for those medium range plants where they don't need a lot of drainage, but just plain soil isn't going to cut it for them. And then another soil mixture that I really like for the well draining mixtures for succulents, cacti, stuff like that is going to be like a 1-part soil, 1-part sand or perlite, and then 1-part peat moss. So this ranges, like it doesn't have to be perfect, but I think as long as you have at least 1/3 of either perlite or sand, like a coarse sand, then that's really important, and it's going to help out your plants a lot for those that need a lot of drainage in them. Excuse me for a second. Probably heard me swallow because I got this microphone right here. So all of those different soil types require a different level of water when I initially do the watering, especially when it comes to the different variables like the pots themselves. So it's going to be a pretty lengthy video when I go through everything, because I've got this whole room here that, see all this stuff, and then we've got all these plants up here too. So I'm going to go through all those, a couple up over on this side too. I'm going to go through all of those, and then we also have in one of our bedrooms, we've got a couple of shelves built right into the windows, and those actually house a lot of succulent planters too. Those succulent planters are maybe like 2 feet by 6 inches deep and maybe 8 inches tall as well. We've got a bunch of planters in there, and the watering when it comes to those is very different because it's one large planter housing a lot of separate plants and succulents too. So it's going to be a pretty interesting video, something that I haven't done before. I haven't done a lot of watering videos in the past either. So it could be beneficial to you guys, especially since I think the number one reason why people may be killing their plants, especially when it comes to indoor, is just miswatering. They're either watering too much, watering too little, too frequently, not checking the soil before they water. They just do, figure I've always watered my plants once every 2 weeks, so I'm just going to do that no matter what. Not taking into consideration the time of the season and how much relative humidity might be in that air. It really does make a big difference because here in Wisconsin, we've got very cold winters, as many of you guys know. So our heat is running pretty frequently. We have a central air system here in our condo. So what happens is that central air system really, really pulls out the humidity from the air. I don't like it. I've been thinking about going on Amazon and buying a really nice humidifier to have over here by the plants, to not only to help the plants, but help us as well, because having that extra humidity here in Wisconsin in the air is very crucial. Definitely helps out a lot. So the different times of the year really does play a factor when it comes to how you may want to water your plants too. And a lot of people just don't really think about that stuff. So the more we can kind of connect with the time of the season, time of the year, and maybe see some of the signs that our plants are giving us, that we may be overwatering or underwatering, I think connecting with those plants a little bit more is really important too. I understand that a lot of people just don't have the time to observe this kind of stuff because we all live crazy busy lives. I will say that for sure. I am living proof of that. My life is extremely busy. We've got 2 kids, a wife. I work very, very frequently, especially when it comes to like my regular 9 to 5 job. And then I come home and I'm making videos usually every other day. So very busy. I understand that, but I think the more that we can learn to pay attention to our plants and see the signs that they're giving us, the more rewarding it's going to be for us in the gardens. And I like to think of it as kind of like our own little meditation too when we're in the garden. I think it's really rewarding to be able to work with the plants and grow them and see that all these little things that you've been doing throughout the week or months or years that you've had these plants, all these little things really make a difference in the health of the plants. And to see that, it's really cool. It's rather rewarding. I think we are going to move over to the comments and questions that we got over this last week. I will go through some of the most interesting ones, the good, the bad, the ugly. I think almost all of them are good. We'll scroll down here over to a week ago. Somebody had asked, Crystal Elizabeth had asked if we have a Venus flytrap or know anything about them. Well, I have never grown one. She asked if we would happen to know how to transplant one too. I directed her over to another YouTuber's video where she could learn how to transplant them. But I myself have never had any experience with Venus flytraps. I've always thought they've been pretty interesting. I have a buddy, Danny, who always says, dude, Ripley, you've got to get some of this carnivorous plants. You've got to get some carnivorous plants. And the reason why I haven't gotten any of these plants yet is because I know that they are rather difficult to take care of. They do require a high humidity, sometimes even standing water, and a lot of maintenance. So that's why I haven't quite jumped into getting some carnivorous plants yet. But I am probably, let's be honest, I'll probably get some this spring or summer because I just can't help myself, and it's been on the top of my head for a while now. So look forward to that. I'm sure I'll get some over this 2020 year. Let's see. What else do we've got here? A couple of comments on the succulent gift idea, that unboxing. A lot of people thought they were beautiful, and they totally are. We've got a question on our cactus cutting propagation growth progress video. What soil do you use when propagating and transplanting? Well, during the propagation, it doesn't matter as much, but after transplanting your cactus cuttings, I definitely recommend to take 2 parts of plain soil and 1 part perlite or a coarse sand. I also noted that peat moss is an acceptable additive if you would like to. Again, that's my standard cactus soil mix right there, is 2 parts regular soil, 1 part perlite or coarse sand. Somebody was very unhappy that we didn't show them the germination of our blueberry seeds that we essentially tricked them into going dormant and made these seeds germinate by using the refrigerator. I'm sure many of you have used this method before. So anyways, we took blueberry seeds. I showed you guys how to separate the seeds, how to put them in a plastic bag with some moist paper towel. You put them in the refrigerator for a while. Sometimes some people do the freezer too. I don't recall if I did freezer or fridge on that one. It was a while. I made that a while ago. But they were not very happy that I showed the results of that experiment. I know for a fact it works. I've done it before. So you don't have to worry about that. I won't put any videos out there that are not proven or are not true. I make sure that I only put out relevant content to you guys and content that's going to hold true in the garden. I'm not going to be putting out any videos like you see some of these like 60-second gardening tip videos on Facebook where they'll take like a rose cutting and shove it into a potato and then throw it in soil, and then magically you've got roses just like that. Videos like that drive me crazy because there's so many things wrong with them, and I'll probably do a reaction video in the future to some of those because most of them are just not true and not the way the plants actually grow. So when it comes to our channel, I make sure that I only put out content that's going to hold true in the garden and methods that have been proven by either myself or others. Somebody had asked why the buds of their Christmas cactus are falling on our how to make a Christmas cactus bloom video. which by the way has been taking off over this last month. 'Tis the season, I suppose. But I just want to thank you to any of my viewers who have seen those videos, any of our Christmas cactus playlist videos. Thank you guys all so much for watching those. It's really helped out over this last month. The buds of your Christmas cactus, they're falling. I had asked if they're falling before they flower or not. If they're falling off of your Christmas cactus before it even flowers, I would assume that it's probably a watering issue. Most of the time, you're probably overwatering, especially when this plant is in a dormant stage, and that's why it's producing these flowers. So, overwatering is the most common way to reduce the show that your cactus wants to put off with these flowers during this dormant stage. I honestly only water my Christmas cactus when it's blooming about once every like almost once a month. Just shy of a month is when I'll water that throughout the months of late November all the way up until my plant is coming out of that stage in like say January, February. Then I start to slowly increase it a little bit more. You don't really water it a whole lot more. Your Christmas cactus doesn't need a lot more water until your like March comes around or early spring. Then you can kind of bring it up to the normal watering schedule. And then throughout those months of very late winter up until early fall, that's when I recommend fertilizing your Christmas cactus as well. But in this case, where their buds are falling off this Christmas cactus, I think you're probably over watering. So I would look at your watering schedule. If it's once every 2 weeks, that's going to be too much. Reduce it to just try like every 3.5 to 4 weeks. And that's obviously too late this season if your buds have fallen off. But I hope you get better luck next season. The next comment, Neri Mushai commented on our rosemary cutting videos where I show you guys how to propagate rosemary via cuttings. She said, I tried it your way and alas, success. But guess what? Our rosemary bush from which I took the cuttings has barely had any attention. They seem pretty hardy. Super happy that it worked out for you guys. I love seeing this feedback. When the stuff that I do in the garden also works for you guys, because once again, I know it's going to make you guys happier with the gardening process overall. So the more I can help improve that experience for you, the better. So thank you so much for tuning in and commenting on that feedback, letting us know that it worked so well for you. Helen Aragon says, my cactus doesn't bloom no matter what I do with it. It's in a dark, cool room. This is once again on the how to make a Christmas cactus bloom video. I let her know, I asked her about her watering schedule and let her know that to reduce her watering, most likely, to make sure it doesn't have fertilizer in the soil. Anytime after, like especially once fall begins, no fertilizer at all, because again, we're trying to get this plant to go into a dormant stage at this point. So no fertilizer for your Christmas cactus. Otherwise, it's not going to go into that dormant stage. It needs like 12 hours of darkness. As much darkness as possible, the better. So if you've got it in off of your living room or something like that, where you've still got the lights on up until 8 o'clock at night, that's not going to be enough, because say the sun rises by like 6 o'clock, 5:30, depending on the time of the season. Well, clearly this time of the season it's going to be like 5:30ish. You do not want too much light for this Christmas cactus. So take it out of your living room, take it out of the areas where you're going to be up late at night, having some lights on. Yes, even your indoor lights, like your ceiling fans, your lights that you have next to your couches, like whatever indoor lighting you guys have, take it out of that room if it's not blooming for you because it's not getting enough darkness. That is another one of the triggers that brings this plant into a bloom, is because it knows the seasons are changing, the nights are getting longer. It's also receiving cooler temperatures, so I recommend pushing it up against a window so it can receive some of those cooler temperatures. Hi, Adi. Thanks for tuning in. Put it up close to a window or door or something where it's going to get a little bit cooler throughout the day and night, because those are the major contributing factors to get your Christmas cactus to bloom. Darkness, coolness, and less water. Do those three things, and I really don't have any other reason why it would not bloom. Just become increasingly more extreme on those as it goes by. If you find that it's probably still getting too much light, if you really, really want to make some blooms, then move it into a dark closet or something for a certain period of time throughout the night. If you absolutely have to, then go ahead and do that. One of our other comments, somebody said a weekly live recap would be awesome. I just posted a story on that a bit ago, so I'm happy to hear that a lot of you guys would think that would be beneficial. Again, we're at like 36 minutes so far, so we've got a ton of content. If you're just tuning in, we've gone through a weekly recap of all of the videos we posted, how we made those videos, and some more extra in-depth information about the videos. And then we also went through comments and just the state of the garden, like the different plants and stuff that we've been growing here. And so if you guys just tune in, don't be shy, don't be afraid to go back to the beginning and watch this whole thing, because there's so much great information. And just, I think this really allows me to kind of connect with you guys on a more personal level. A lot of the times when I'm just recording a video, I've got the camera up, I've kind of got an idea of what I would like to say in the video. So it's not quite as personal as these live videos. So I'd like to kind of provide that for you guys if that's something you're looking for. If you guys have enjoyed this video so far, give me a big old thumbs up. Comment, let me know what you liked or what you didn't like about it. All that stuff would be awesome. And then, guys, please stay active in the comment section as well in the channel, because I make sure I respond to almost every single comment on the channel here. So if you've got anything that that you need to know about, just let me know. Just comment in the section on whatever video you might want to, and I will get back to you for sure. We've got a question rolling in here. Adi says, what type of soil do you recommend for string of hearts? Thank you in advance. Or thanks in advance. String of hearts, they are kind of like one of those in-between plants. They actually are kind of like the same as how I treat my Hoyas. They don't need like a soil mix that's just like succulents or cacti, where it's really, really high draining soil, but it does need to be moderately well draining. So I would recommend, just if you've got a plain soil type that is mixed in with, I would add in the peat moss to this mixture for the string of hearts. So do 2 parts regular soil and 1 part peat moss. And depending on the type of container that you have, whether it seems to drain pretty fast or not, I might also want to recommend adding in some coarse sand with that too, or perlite along with the peat moss. So just make up a moderately well draining soil mix, or if you're looking to actually buy a pre-made mix, indoor soil mixes will work well with that string of hearts too. For fertilizing on that, I know it's not part of your question, but I believe string of hearts, you would mostly just do a fertilizing from your late winter months up until late fall. then just hold off a little bit and during the winter months. Generally, we can do that or use that method with most of our indoor plants, whether or not they're blooming. We're not trying to push out a bloom of these, but generally plants do like to see or feel some type of a change when it comes to the winter months. So it really helps keep their natural life cycle going when they see those triggers. So reduce your fertilizing if you even fertilize at all during the winter months. So thank you so much for that question. Hope we've got that answered for you. If anybody else has any questions too, please feel free, drop it down below right now. We're gonna wrap up here in several minutes. I just want to go through anybody who's watching right now to get your questions answered. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in, by the way. It's already been 40 minutes and it has flown by, I'll tell you that. Anybody else have any questions? Well, while we're waiting for a couple of questions, I'm sure some of you guys might have one. I will say that I'll go through my like what I've found to be my favorite few plants here in the garden. Recently is my Sansevieria. I love because the propagating process on that is a lot of fun and it's really cool to see. Like I'm starting to enjoy it more and more as time goes on. Another plant that I've really been loving is my Alocasia African mask. That's going to be one of my top plants. Our Calathea, however you pronounce it, rattlesnake plant. That one is beautiful. I've got a video on that if you want to check it out. It's called, just type in rattlesnake plant, Wisconsin Wonder Garden. You'll find it. It's got really cool contrasting colors with the greens and stuff. So that's a really cool plant that I've been loving. And then my new Monstera is in my top 5 plants for sure. I'm not quite sure if it's a Deliciosa yet. We'll know once it gets larger and larger that it is or is not a Deliciosa. At this point, I believe it is. It was marketed as a Deliciosa. So fingers crossed that it is. And then the last, one of my favorite plants that I've been growing recently is this ZZ plant. Again, the number one reason why I love it so much is the propagation of it, just because it allows me to be kind of experimentative with the plant and see how different factors might influence its growth in different ways too. So stuff like that's kind of pretty cool to me. Well, we don't. What's growing on Dank Genetics? Thank you for tuning in. We've got all sorts of stuff going on. If you see right behind me here, this is just one of our rooms. We've got 2 grow rooms here for our indoor gardens during the winter months where I can't get outside and work with all the perennials and flowers and other stuff. Right now, we're just going through questions. So if you have any questions, please leave it in the comment section. Previously in this video, we went through a weekly recap of all of our videos, some of the plants and the current state of Wisconsin Wonder Garden and the stuff we're looking to do in the future. So just lots of really exciting stuff. I encourage you to go back to the beginning of the video once you're done here and check it out because there's a ton of information that we went through that I think you would find beneficial. Nobody's got any questions right now, so it is a beautiful Sunday afternoon, and for me that means it's time to clean up the house a little bit, relax with the family, maybe hang out, watch a movie or something like that, and just do your everyday average Sunday stuff. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. Again, like I said, this was 45 minutes long. Seeing you in a couple of videos. You do a great job. Thanks, man. Peace out. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. It's been a great time with you all. I I've liked doing this video so far. If you guys like it as well, comment down in the section below. And I think we might make a commitment to do these weekly recap videos every Sunday afternoon. I've yet to develop a time. Also, if you guys would prefer a different date, if I get a lot of feedback saying a certain day of the week might work better or a certain time, then let me know. But right now, the way it sits, I think it's going to fit best to do that every Sunday, say around noon or 1 o'clock. Right now, we started this one just before noon. So let me know what you guys think about that. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you all have a wonderful gardening adventure as always. And as I always say, make sure you guys are experimenting and being creative in the garden, because that's what it's all about. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. Take care.